You've grown up in the society where that is just what everybody does, right? Everybody just goes, so you've planned on that. Like when you've planned to have a family, you've planned on, and hey, by the way, dad's going to work, mom's going to work, we send the kids to school. So that means we can bring in this much money, and it also affords us this much time because we're now outsourcing the education for our young people to somebody else, to a government entity. Even the people that are like, I don't outsource my freedom to the government, I don't outsource anything to the government, are still outsourcing their kids to the government, and they're doing the but they've planned on that. And again, they didn't know there were alternatives to take a look. So then people find out, wait a second, there's alternatives, and it's actually almost always better than sending my kids into the conveyor belt program. So now I've got to figure some things out. So we've seen families take it a couple of different ways. One, sometimes they've had to take, and this is just being honest, a very hard look at themselves. Is it worth sacrificing your children so that mom and dad can both work these jobs to afford this particular house and these particular cars and these particular toys? Are you willing to downsize some of that to make your children a priority? That's a real question for some people. I'm not saying that's everybody that's hearing this, but I know some people, that's the conversation they need to have. Are we willing to make that sacrifice? And I say that as somebody who had to make that sacrifice. I say that as somebody who had to go from a six-figure job, who left that job and went to a job paying me $31,000 a year in California with a child, with my wife not working. But it was because it was a priority for us. We were going to make that happen. We knew we were going to have to dig out of that hole, but we're going to have to make that happen. So for some people, it's simply that conversation of, do we scale back so one of the parents can stay home so we can perpetuate this? That's a real conversation. Some, it's not that easy. Some, both parents will still have to work for a while, and I would argue maybe you plan on bringing one of the parents home at some point, and so you start putting things in motion, and you just understand the game they're going into now, and you equip them to play the game as best you can so that you can work really hard to bring them home. Maybe that's the thing. But for a lot of parents, two working parents, what I've seen work a lot is they just need to have coverage for the young person. They just need to have somebody to watch them during the day. Maybe grandma and grandpa live close by. Maybe aunts and uncles live close by. Maybe there is a combination of dad's shift is this, mom's shift is this, so it's just a couple days of the week where they need some coverage here, and we've got neighbors who have different days off, and they can take the kids that day. Or there's a jiu-jitsu gym and a martial arts gym down the road that'll actually take them for 6 hours, and they can do all of these classes. There's a million different options that are worth exploring so that you can have coverage when you're not home to be with them to actually perpetuate the education. So there's no way to make this a blanket statement. The closest thing I can get to a blanket is there's almost always a way to make those things work if you're willing to tap into your network and see where resources are around. The world was not designed like that, and it's actually going against your design in a lot of things. What's the cheapest and easiest food to get? It's fast food, man. Go grab some processed stuff off the shelves. It's the easiest way to go. For sure it is. The world's not designed to make you healthy. You've got to make a choice. You're going to have to make a choice to make sacrifices, to buy real food, to cook real food, to not just go through the drive-through to get it. You've got to make that choice. You've got to make that a priority because the world's not built that way. The world's not built for you to just get all kinds of wealth, to create wealth. You're not taught really how to make money. You're not taught how to save money. You're not taught how to give money. You're not taught not just how to pay your taxes, but you're not taught about why taxes are there in the first place, and is there any way that I can really lessen this tax burden to maybe almost zero? There's ways to do that too. You're never taught that. You're rarely ever given the keys to unlock the chains of your own enslavement, for sure. It's not necessarily the way the world's ever going to be built. Okay, so now what? Do you accept that and you just willingly turn a blind eye? Do you accept it, send your kids back into the fire anyways, crossing your fingers that they won't get burned, and then trying to do burn treatment when they come home? Or do you figure out a way so that they're not lit on fire every single day? That's not a question that I can answer for anybody. All I can do is get people to ask themselves that question, and if they're brave enough, sit with it long enough to decide what you're going to do next. You may not have an immediate answer. When I made $31,000 that year, I sure as heck did not have the answer ready. I just knew I had to go find the answer, and I wasn't willing to sacrifice my child in the process of finding the answer. That's all I'm asking people to do, is think through it.